Recording in progress. Session resume. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, considering that copies of Journal Number 60, dated March 12, 2024, were already distributed to the members, I move to dispense with the reading thereof and subsequently to approve the same journals. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved. The reading of Journal Number 60, dated March 12, 2024, is dispensed with, and the same is hereby approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider additional reference of business, and for this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the titles of the bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as communications and committee reports. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the titles of the bills and resolution on first reading, as well as communication and committee reports for referral to the appropriate committees.
Additional reference of business, bills on first reading. House Bill 10149, promoting integrated urban agriculture in urban areas nationwide to address food security, by Representatives Tulfo, Ralph Wendell, Tulfo Jocelyn, and Tulfo Erwin.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food and the Special Committee on Food Security.
House Bill 10150, reverting control and ownership of local water districts to local government units and prohibiting the privatization of public water systems, water treatment and distribution facilities and related services, by Representatives Brosas, Castro Franz, and Manuel.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill numbers 10151, 10152, and 10153, separating several sitios of barangays Poblacion, Lamdalag, and Lamfugon, all in Lake Cebu, South Cotabato, and to constitute them as distinct and independent barangays to be known as barangays Lemlunay, Tablo, and Tiboyong, by Representative Miguel.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 10154, providing for the conversion of Columbio, Lutayan, Coronadal City Road, Coronadal City Bypass Road, and Banga, Tupi, Malungon Road in the 2nd District of South Cotabato from provincial roads into national roads, by Representative Miguel.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 10155, declaring La Trinidad Benguet as the strawberry capital of the Philippines, by Representative Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 10156, establishing the e-books for the barangay program, by Representative Duterte.
The Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 10157, expanding the coverage of the Senior Citizens Act, by Representatives Mercado Revilla, Revilla Brian, and Revilla Ramon Jolo.
To the Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 10159, providing for the Magna Carta of Children, by Representatives Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Marcos, Asidre, and Co. Angelica Natasha.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children.
Resolutions. House Resolution 1648, directing the Committee on Natural Resources to conduct an investigation on the construction of a resort near the Chocolate Hills in Bohol, a declared global geological park by UNESCO and national protected landscape, by Representatives Brosas, Castro Franz, and Manuel.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1649, organizing the Philippines-Argentina Parliamentarians Friendship Group, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Interparliamentary Relations and Diplomacy.
House Resolution 1651, calling for measures to protect seafarers from the ongoing attacks on commercial shipping in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, by Representatives Salo, Pleito, Olaso, Espares, De Jesus, and Colada.
To the Committee on Overseas Workers' Affairs.
Communications. Letter dated February 21, 2024 of the Bureau of Immigration Commissioner, furnishing the House of Representatives with a copy of their 2023 accomplishment report.
To the Committee on Justice.
Letter dated February 23, 2024 of the Bureau of Corrections Director General, submitting to the House a copy of their 2023 accomplishment report.
To the Committee on Justice.
Letters dated March 6 and 8, 2024 of the Acting Bank Officer 6, BSP Office of the General Counsel and Legal Services, transmitting to the House duly certified copies of certain BSP issuances.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Letter of the PIDEA Director General submitting to the House a copy of their operational accomplishment and assessment report for January 2024.
To the Committee on Dangerous Drugs.
Various communications submitted to the House by local chief executives and local government units relative to their posting and reporting requirements of the fund utilization and status of program project implementation of the Local Government Support Fund.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Committee reports. Committee Report 1031, submitted by the Committees on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources and Appropriations on House Bill 10158. Committee Report numbers 1032 and 1033, submitted by the Committee on Housing and Urban Development on House Bill numbers 10172 and 10173, respectively. Committee Report 1034, submitted by the Committees on Health, Appropriations, and Ways and Means on House Bill 10174. Committee Report 1035, submitted by the Committees on Women and Gender Equality and Appropriations on House Bill 10176.
The aforementioned committee reports are all referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration and third reading of House Bill number 9936, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair is none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 9936, an act allowing the Department of Education the flexibility to determine the pedagogical approaches to be implemented in the basic education curriculum, amending for the purpose Section 5 of Republic Act number 10533, otherwise known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 9936. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincola, Agarao, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulutbegtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayunoy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro France, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalao, Co Angelica Natasha, Co Elizalde, Co Pilar, Co Juanco Jaime Eduardo Mart, Co Juanco Mart, Colada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cua, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayanghirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo Siti Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Dohali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael Carlos, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrell Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gazataya, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Coriseta, Gico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Co Olga, Co Ricardo, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sunny, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Lim Kay Chong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Waminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Oano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Regencia, Remulla, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rilio, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Rochelle, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Michael Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Watco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Irwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Uy, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Verzosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yamsuan, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 9936. Abante, Abunda, Acop, Advincula, Alba, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Aquino, Barzaga, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Colada, Dayanghirang, De Los Santos, Ecleo, Enverga, Espares, Fariñas, Fernandez, Frasco, Garin, Goed Christopher, Gonzaga, Horibata, Co Olga, Co Wilton, Dibanan, Lim Kay Chong, Marañon, Marcoleta, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Mendoza, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Pleito, Romero, Sagarbaria, Sali, Solon, Swansing Horacio, Tamayo, Tan Samir, Tan Tambut, Ungab, Valmayor, Velasco, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar.
With 255 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstention, House Bill Number 9936 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration third reading of House Bill Number 9978. And may I request the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there an objection? Chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 9978 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 9978, an act providing for a moratorium on student loan payments during calamities, disasters, crisis situations, and other emergencies. Roll call of members in consideration of third reading of House Bill number 9978. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Matallon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asisio, Atayde, Comentado, Balindong, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Rosas, Buhain, Bulutwigtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayin Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, o Angelica Natasha, o Elizalde, o Pilar, o Wangko Jaime Eduardo Mark, o Wangko Mark, Colada, Collantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayanghirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo Siti Amina, Junicio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael Carlos, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Videla, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Pentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Orturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garjola, Garin, Casataya, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Ginto, Gullas, Gutierrez, Jaresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, O Olga, O Ricardo, O Wilton, Honghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Lara, Lasatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limkaychong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Huaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Juano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Permisa Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Regencia, Remulla, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Sieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Santos, Saulog, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suwan, Sonsing Horacio, Sonsing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Watco, Tariela, Chodoro, Teves, Chanco, Cheng, Tolentino, Tulfo Erwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralphendel, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Uy, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villaferte Luis Raymond, Villaferte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yamsuan, Yap Chantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edric, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jason Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call of members in consideration, third reading of House Bill number 9978. Abante, Abunda, Acop, Advincula, Alba, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Aquino, Barzaga, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Colada, Dayanghirang, Ecleo, Enverga, Espares, Farinas, Fernandez, Frasco, Garin, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzaga, Horibata, Ko Olga, Ko Wilton, Dibanan, Lim Kachong, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Mendoza, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Plato, Romero, Sagarbaria, Sali, Solon, Swansing Horacio, Tamayo, Tansamir, Tambut, Ungab, Valmayor, Velasco, Villaferte Luis Raymond, Villaferte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar.
With 255 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstention, House Bill number 9978 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration and third reading of House Bill number 9979, and may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there an objection? Chair hears none. Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 9979 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 9979, an act further amending Republic Act number 7836, otherwise known as the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994, as amended by Republic Act number 9293. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 9979. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agarao, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascog, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolivia, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulot Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro France, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalao, Co Angelica Natasha, Co Elizaldi, Co Pilar, Co Juanco Jaime Eduardo Mar, Co Juanco Mar, Colada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagok, Delipe, Dalog, Dayanghirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Kali, Dimaporo Siti Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, David, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael Carlos, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo Emano Enverga Escudero Espares Espina Estrella Yudela Farinas Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores Fortes Frasco, Fresnetti Pentibella Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola Garin Gasataya Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles Gomez Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Coriseta Gico Ginto Gules, Gutierrez Aresco Ataman, Hernandez Herrera, Oribata Javier, Co Olga, Co Ricardo, Co Wilton, Kong Hun, Labadabad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sunny, Lara Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanin, Likay Chong, Loyola, Luis, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Maniques, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marina Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado, Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Nograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Omanal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Juano, Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Leito, Primicia, Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Regencia, Rimulya, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo Romulo Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo Santos, Saulug Silverio, Singson Richelle, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez Tagliado Tamayo Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Shai, Tan Walco Tarielio Todoro, Teves Tiangco Tiang Tolentino, Tulfo Irwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas Tutor, T. Umali, Unabia Ongab, Uy, Valeriano Mayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villal, Villarazo Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yamsuan, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call of members in consideration and third reading of House Bill Number 9979. Abante Abunda Acop, Advincula, Alba, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong Aquino, Barzaga, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Colada Dayang Hirang, Ecleo, Enverga Espares, Farinas, Fernandez, Frasco, Garin, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzaga, Horibata, Co Olga, Co Wilton, Libanan, Lim Kay Chong, Marañon, Marcoleta, Martinez, Masura, Matibag, Mendoza, Nograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Pleito, Romero, Zagarbaria, Sali, Solon, Swansing, Horacio, Tamayo, Tansamir, Tantambut, Unga, Balmayor, Velasco, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar.
With 255 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstention, House Bill numbers 9979 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration and third reading of House Bill number 9982, and may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 9982 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 9982, an act strengthening the establishment and operation of all public and private higher education institutions. Roll call of members in consideration third reading of House Bill number 9982. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Charon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Almonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Aquino, Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Organcia, Asisto, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barbara, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista, Dim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bodilla, Bondok, Bungadon, Bordado, Busita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Burug, Pagtang, Justos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahain, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro, France, Caso, Jane, Celeste, Chanchato, Chua, Chungalaw, Ko, Angelica, Natasha, Ko, Izaldi, Ko, Pilar, Juan ko Jaime Eduardo Marco, Juan ko Marcolada, Collantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Coresma, Dagok, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hiram, Dasa, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor del Mar, del Santos, De Peporo, Muhammad Khalid, De Poro, City Amina, Junicio, Domingo Duavit, Duhadi, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino, Michael Carlos, Di Ian, Paul Ecleo, Emmanuel, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Udela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer, Antonio, Ferrer, Judith Madi, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Presidente, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia, Albert, Garcia, Dante, Garcia, Jose Orturo, Garcia, Maria Angela, Garcia, Pablo Jan, Garcia, Vincent, Gorjola, Garin, Gasataya, Gayo, Gato, Go, and Christopher Gomark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales, Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Groseta, Gico, Ginto, Gulios, Gutierrez, Resco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Ko Hunda, Badlabad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Lara Lasatin, Ligada, Libanan, Limquin, Choy, Loyola, Luis Tor, Lumayag, Kapagal, Arroyo, Macedo, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan. Mga awang Manikis Manuel.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, Honorable Manuel.
my vote for the House bill is no, and I would like to explain later why I have such that vote. Thank
Noted.
you.
Please proceed.
Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano, Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel Momo, Morden, Abanisa, Inograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Inograles, Margarita, Velasco, Ominalo, Olaso, Olivares, Onchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano, Dizon, Padiernos, Maduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Pimisa, Gabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Regencia, Rimula, Revilla, Brian, Revilla, Ramon, Jo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Eulogio, Rodriguez, Rufus, Roman Romero, Romualdez, Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez, Yadamari, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdaran, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salis, Limbangan, Salo, Santos, Saulog, Silverio, Sinson Richel, Sinson Ronald, Sinson Mihan, Solon Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez Tagliado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith, Michael, Tan Reynolds, Michael, Tan Semir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Wato, Tariela, Chodoro, Teves, Chanco, Cheng, Tolentino Tulfo, Erwin Tulfo, Jocelyn Tulfo, Ralph Wendel, Tupas Tutorti, Umali, Unabio, Ungab, Uy, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuason, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafeto Luis Raymond, Villafeto Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yamsuan, Yap Crisantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edwick, Yap Eric, Yu Divine Grace, Yu Giselle Victoria, Yulo, Zamora, Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call of members in consideration, third reading of House Bill number 9982. Abante, Abunda, Acop, Advincula, Alba, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Aquino, Barzaga, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Colada, Dayang Hirang, Duterte, Ecleo, Enverga, Espares, Farinas, Fernandez, Frasco, Garin, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzaga, Paribata, O Olga, O Wilton, Dibanan, Lim Kay Chong, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Mendoza, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Pleito, Romero, Sagarbaria, Sali, Solon, Swansing Horacio, Tamayo, Tansamir, Tansambut, Ungab, Valmayor, Velasco, Villaferte Luis Raymond, Villaferte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar.
With 253 members voting in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, and 0 abstention, House Bill number 9982 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Raul Daniel Manuel of the Kapadaan Park List to explain his vote.
Honorable Raul Manuel is recognized. You have 3 minutes.
Salamat, Mr. Speaker. Ang boto ng kabataan sa House Bill 9982 ay no. Despite the good intentions and assurances of its authors, the current landscape and practices in higher education indicate the need for greater supervision, not less, on educational institutions. Nais ng panukalang batas na gawing mas deregulated ang higher education institutions, kahit na sa ngayon ay deregulated na ang sistema ng edukasyon sa bansa. Di na lang private higher education institutions ang pwedeng mabigyan ng autonomous o deregulated status kapag naging batas na ito. Pero pati ang state universities and colleges at ang local universities and colleges. Dagdag pa, Mr. Speaker, limitado ang saklaw ng academic freedom sa panukalang batas. Nakakiling ito sa interes lamang ng mga namamahala ng mga universidad. The bill will give HEIs wider discretion and de facto control to institute policies covering admission, retention, and examination. In practice, these have been used to violate students' rights, na ginagawa na ngayon through repressive student handbooks, mandated waivers of rights, and other forms. Papahinain nito ang papel ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno para panagutin ang mga abusadong administrador. Supposedly to ensure quality education, papayagan din ang degree program closures habang may mga estudyante pa na naka-enroll sa ganong mga degree program. Sa halip na patapusin muna sila sa degree program na pinasukan nila bago ipatigil ang ganong mga kurso. Mr. Speaker, without corresponding or complementary measures to protect stakeholders and a comprehensive review by CHED and DepEd of student handbooks, student codes, and other existing documents considered internal to educational institutions, this bill can empower the already empowered, not the disempowered. Dahil po dyan, no ang ating boto. Salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration of House Bill number 1003. And may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 10003 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 10003, an act establishing the Barangay Integrated Development Approach for Nutrition Improvement of the Rural Poor as a linkage program of participating state universities and colleges and local universities and colleges and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 10003. Abalo, Sabante, Abunda, Charon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincola, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascog, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondoc, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulot Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalao, Co Angelica Natasha, Co Elizaldi, Co Pilar, Co Juanco Jaime Eduardo Mark, Co Juanco Mark, Colada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagok, Delipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza de Jesus de Venecia, Defensor del Mar de los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo Siti Amina, Dionisio Domingo Duavid Duhali Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael Carlos, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo Emano Enverga Escudero Espares, Espina Estrella Yudela Farinas Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores Fortes, Frasco Fresnetti Fuentebella Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta Gico, Ginto, Gulias, Gutierrez, Haresco, Ataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Kong Hun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sunny, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Kaychong, Loyola, Luis, Lumayag, Macapagal, Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Maniquez, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Nograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Waminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Owano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia, Sagabas, Pumarian, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Rehencia, Remulia, Revilla Bryan, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Michaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Watco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Irwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Uy, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yamsuan, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call of members in consideration and third reading of House Bill number 10003. Abante, Abunda, Ako, Padvincula, Alba, Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amatong, Barzaga, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Colada, Dayang Hirang, Ecleo, Enverga, Espares, Farinas, Fernandez, Frasco, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzaga, Horibata, Ko Olga, Ko Wilton, Libanan, Lim Kaichong, Marañon, Marcoleta, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Nograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Pleito, Romero, Sagarbaria, Sali, Solon, Swansing Horacio, Tamayo, Tansamir, Tantambut, Ungab, Valmayor, Velasco, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar.
With 259 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstention, House Bill number 10003 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration and third reading of House Bill number 10049 and request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 10049 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 10049, an act further promoting entrepreneurship by strengthening, empowering, and enhancing the financing and other support programs for micro, small, and medium enterprises, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 6977 as amended, otherwise known as the Magna Carta for Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises, MSMEs. Roll call of members in consideration, third reading of House Bill number 10049. Abala Sabande, Abunda, Charon, Asidra, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asiso, Atayde, Aumentado, Badindong, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bungalon, Bordado, Busita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Burud, Bugtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayin, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro France, Castro Jane, Celeste Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco, Jaime, Eduardo Mark, Ko Juanco Mark, Colada, Collantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Corasma, Dago, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo, Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo City, Amina, Junicio Domingo, Duawit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael Carlos, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrello, Yudela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Garjola, Garin, Casataya, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Coriseta, Guico, Ginto, Gullas, Gutierrez, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Oribata, Javier Co, Olga Co, Ricardo Co, Wilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara Lasatin, Ligarda, Liban, Limkay, Chong Loyola, Luis Lumayag, Makapagala, Royo, Maseda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Navanisay, Nograles Juan, Fidel Felipe, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Ominal, Olaso, Olivares, Ong Juan, Ordanes, Ortega, Juan Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel Plaza, Pleito, Permiso, Sagabas, Pumaran, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Rehencia, Remulla, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jodo, Reyes Rillo, Rivera Robes, Rodriguez Hiloyo, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Sieda Marie, Romualdo Romero Roque, Sakdaran Sagarbaria, Sakaluran Salceda, Sali Salimbangon, Salo Santos, Saulog Silvero, Sinson Richel, Sinson Ronald, Sinson Mihan, Tolon Suwan, Suwansing Horacio, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez Talyado, Tamayo, Tamunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambu, Tan Chay, Tan Watco, Tariela Chidoro, Teves Chanco, Cheng Tolentino Turfo, Erwin Turfo, Jocelyn Turfo, Ralph Endel, Tupas Chitorti, Umali, Unabio, Ungab, Uy, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuasan, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafeto Luis Raymond, Villafeto Miguel Luis, Villanueva Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yamsuan, Yap Presentel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Eric, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jason Victoria, Yulo, Zamora, Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubidi. Second call of members in consideration, third reading of House Bill number 10049. Abante Abunta Acop, Advincula Alba, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong Barsaga, Bautista Lim Colada, Yang Hirang, Ecleo, Enverga, Espares, Farinas, Fernandez, Frasco, Go, Christopher Gonzaga, Ribata Co, Olga Co, Wilton Dibanan, Lim Kay Chong Maranyon, Marcoleta Martinez Mastura, Matibag Nagdaral, Juan Fidel Felipe, Pleito, Romero, Sagarbaria, Sally Solon, Swansing Horacio, Tamayo, Tansamir, Tantambut, Ungab, Valmayor, Velasco, Villafeto Luis Raymond, Villafeto Miguel Luis, Villanueva Villar.
Two 258 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstention. House Bill number 10049 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we acknowledge and welcome to the House of Representatives the guests of Representative Milagros Aquino Magsaysay of the United Senior Citizens Party List. We have guests from the Dulong Bayan Senior Citizens Associations, Carlin Balahadia, Amelia Ching, Eduardo Go, Telma Ramos, Maria Lani Crisologo, Maria Florida Kawaling, Eugenia Diaz, Lucila Aquino, Narcita Talagtag, Teresa Bangkisio, Leticia Mania, Chepura Gonzalez, Eliseo Balahadia, Suzanne Buencamino, Rebecca Fulgencio, Arsenia Pagkanlungan, Hermeline Villafuerte. We also have guests from the Alyansa ng Sama-Sama sa Pagbabago ng mga Senior Citizens ng Pasig City Association Incorporated. We have Edwin Mag-iba, Nonato de la Rosa, Marilyn Garcia, Elizabeth Ching, Virgilio Manalo, Mario Bangasa, Leonora Robles, Loreto Virey, Luz Hufancia, Severo Abuda, Maria Luisa Cabus, Aurora Heterosa, Anselmo Hasha, Herelita Villegas, Roger Rances, Belen Manilag, Lydia Camuyag, Yolanda Legaspi, Melinda Pamindim, Gil Bolos, Danilo Reyes, Zenaida Edles, Tita Pascua, Adelaida Belarmino, Florida de la Rosa, Ernesto Concepcion. We also have guests from the Southern Luzon Senior Citizens Association of the Philippines of Quezon Province. We have Selvino Racoma, Gerardo Carabido Sr., Felipe Tambilot Sr., and Merly Sanchez.
To the guest of Honorable Milagros Aquino Magsaysay of the United Senior Citizens Party List, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we also acknowledge and welcome to the House of Representatives the guests of Representative Arlene D. Brosas of the Gabriela Women's Party. We have Sarah Abelia, Avelina Anuran, Marilu Baltazario, Cecil Carmen Hueco Berdul, Annalisa David, Judy Ignacio, Judy Moore Hanoya, Susan Laurinaria, Annabel Lauzon, Maria Lucille, Esther Lili Leonin, Danilo Parino, Joselito Sunga, and Connie Balana.
To the guest of Honorable Arlene Brosas of the Gabriela Party List, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading of the following House bills. Numbered 10110, House Bill number 10111, House Bill number 10112, House Bill number 10113, House Bill number 10114, House Bill number 10115, House Bill number 10116, House Bill number 10117, House Bill number 10118, and House Bill number 10122, and House Bill number 10123, House Bill number 10124, and House Bill number 10125, all local bills declaring ecotourism, tourism destinations, and development areas. And may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair is none. The aforementioned, the Secretary General is directed to read the titles of the aforementioned bills and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 10110, an act declaring the municipality of Santa Fe, province of Romblon, a tourism destination. House Bill 10111, an act declaring the Malagap Underground River located in Barangay Malagap, municipality of Banisilan, province of Cotabato, a tourism destination. House Bill 10112, an act declaring Corjanan Falls located in Barangay Igsoro, municipality of Bugasong, province of Antique, an ecotourism site. House Bill 10113, an act declaring Mount Kituved, located in Barangay Bentangan, municipality of Carmen, province of Cotabato, a tourism destination. House Bill 10114, an act declaring the Lampiningan Island in the city of Isabela, province of Basilan, an ecotourism zone. House Bill number 10115, an act declaring the Minokot Beach area located in Barangay Bunsoran, municipality of Ferrol, province of Romblon, an ecotourism destination. House Bill 10116, an act declaring the municipality of San Fernando, province of Romblon, a tourism development area. House Bill 10117, an act declaring the island municipality of Sarangani, province of Davao Occidental, an ecotourism zone and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill 10118, an act declaring the Maramo section of the Angat River system in Barangay San Mateo, municipality of Norzagaray, province of Bulacan, an ecotourism destination to be known as the Maramo Nature Reserve. House Bill 10122, an act declaring Kangkoka Falls, located in Barangay Kambani, Municipality of Kandihay, Province of Bohol, an ecotourism destination. House Bill 10123, an act declaring Kununtamad Falls, located in Barangay Kadapdapan, Municipality of Kandihay, Province of Bohol, an ecotourism site. House Bill 10124, an act declaring Mount Kaniao, located in the Municipality of Bantay, Province of Ilocos Sur, an ecotourism zone. House Bill 10125, an act declaring the Tarangaban Falls, located in Barangay Tinaplakan, City of Calbayog, Province of Samar, an ecotourism site. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of the aforementioned bills. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agarao, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulit Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Changalao, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Jaime Eduardo Mark, Ko Juanco Mark, Colada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, De Yanghirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo Siti Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhari, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael Carlos, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Jaresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Kong Hun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sunny, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Legarda, Libanan, Limkay Chong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Waminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Owano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Regencia, Remulia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Shai, Tan Watco, Tarielia, Teodoro, Teves, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Irwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Uy, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Villasotuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yam Suwan, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jaisel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call of member in consideration and third reading of the aforementioned local bills. Abante, Abunda, Acop, Advincula, Alba, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Barzaga, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Colada, Dayang Hirang, Duterte, Ecleo, Enverga, Espares, Fariñas, Fernandez, Frasco, Goit Christopher, Gonzaga, Goribata, Co Olga, Co Wilton, Libanan, Limcaychong, Marañon, Marcoleta, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Nograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Pleito, Romero, Sagarbaria, Sali, Solon, Swansing Horacio, Tamayo, Tansamir, Tantambut, Ungab, Valmayor, Velasco, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar.
With 259 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions. House Bill numbers 10110, 10111, 10112, 10113, 10114, 10115, 10116, 10117, 10118, 10122, 10123, 10124, and 10125 are hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading House Bill number 9977 and request that the Secretary General read the title of the measure and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 9977 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 9977, an act providing for the condonation of unpaid obligations on the power consumption of the Public Utilities Department, Olongapo City, to the Power Sector Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation. Roll call of members in consideration of third reading of House Bill number 9977. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Charon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Agara, Aquino, Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asiso, Atay, Demontado, Barindong, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bonilla, Bondok, Bungalon, Bordado, Busita, Briones, Rosas, Buhain, Budwig, Tang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayin, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro, France, Castro, Jane, Ceresa, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chongalaw, O Angelica, Natasha, Co, Rizaldi, Co, Pilar, Co, Juan, Co, Jaime, Eduardo Mark, Juan, Co, Mark, Colada, Colyantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambroso, Cruz Ricardo, Cua, Quaresma, Dagoc, Dalibe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor del Mar del Santos, Neoporo, Muhammad Kari, Diporo, City Amina, Junicio, Domingo, Duavi, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael Carlos, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espinas, Estrella, Udela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Judith Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Festedi, Pentebella, Galeos, Garcia, Albert, Garcia, Dante, Garcia, Jose Arturo, Garcia, Maria Angela, Garcia, Pablo Jan, Garcia, Vincent, Garjola, Garin, Gasataya, Gato, Goes, Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Ginto, Gulas, Gutierrez, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Kung Hunda, Badlabad, Lacson, Noel, Lagman, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Lara Lasatin, Li, Ligarda, Libanan, Lim Kaychong, Loyola, Luis Toro, Lumayag, Makapagal, Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Bagsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Maniquis, Manuel, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado Revilla, Miguel Momo, Morden, Navanisa, Nograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Nograles, Margarita, Norasco, Ominal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas Palma, Patanigan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Permis Agabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Regencia, Remulla, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Brillo, Rivera Robes, Rodriguez Elohio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdo Siede Marie, Romualdo Romulo Roque Sakdalan sa Garbaria, Sakaluran Salceda Sali Salimbangon Salo Santos Saulog, Silvero Sinson Richel Sinson Ronald Sinson Mihan, Solon Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez Talyado Tamayo Tambunting Tan Joseph Tan Keith Michael Tan Reyes Michael, Tan Samir Tan Stephen James Tan Tambutan Chay Tan Watco Tariela Chodoro, Teves Chanco Cheng Tolentino Tulfo Erwin, Tulfo Jocelyn Tulfo Ralph Wendel, Tupa Sutorti Umari Unabi Ungab Uy Valeriano Valmayor Vargas, Vargas Alfonso Velasco Veloso Tuazon, Vergara Versosa Villa, Vilfredo Luis Raymond, Vilfredo Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yamsuan, Yap Presentel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, Yu Divine Grace, Yu Jaisel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call consideration, third reading of House Bill number 9977. Abande Abunda Acharon, Abande Abunda Acop Advincula Alba Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong Aquino Barzaga Bautista Bautista Dim, Colada Ecleo Enverga Espares Varinas, Fernandez Frasco, Co Ed Christopher, Gonzaga Horebata, Co Olga, Co Wilton, Dibanan, Lim Kay Chong, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Mendoza, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Plato, Romero, Sagarbaria, Sali, Solon, Sonsing Horacio, Tamayo, Tansamir, Tantambut, Ungab, Valmayor, Velasco, Villafeto Luis Raymond, Villafeto Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar.
With 262 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstention, House Bill number 9977 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the approval of House Bill number 9985 and request that the Secretary General read the title of the measure and therefore after call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair is none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 9985 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 9985, an act establishing a special economic zone in the municipality of Sarangani, province of Davao Occidental, creating for the purpose the municipality of Sarangani Special Economic Zone Authority and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 9985. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asisio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascog, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Biliones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Budut Bigtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jane, Celeste Chan, Chato Chua, Chongalao, Co Angelica Natasha, Co Elizaldi, Co Pilar, Co Juanco Jaime Eduardo Mart, Co Juanco Mart, Colado Coliantes Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Coa, Quaresma Dagok, Dalipe, Dalog, De Anghirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavid, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael Carlos, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Farines, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnede, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Mariangela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gazataya, Gato, Goed Christopher, Gomar, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Coriseta Gico, Ginto, Gulias, Gutierrez, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Co Olga, Co Ricardo, Co Wilton, Kong Hun, Labad, Lakson, Lakson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Likay Chong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal, Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Maniquis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Waminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanis, Ortega, Oano Dizon, Padierno, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancha, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia, Sagabas, Pumarin, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Regencia, Rimulya, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Yelohoyo, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, sa Garbaria, sa Kaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Rochelle, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Watco, Tariele, Todoro, Teves, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Irwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas Tutor, T. Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Uy, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yamsuan, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jaisel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call of members in consideration and third reading of House Bill Number 9985. Abante Abunda, Ako, Padvincula, Alba, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Barzaga, Bautista, Bautista, Lim, Colada, Duterte, Ecleo, Enverga, Espares, Farinas, Fernandez, Frasco. Co-Ed Christopher, Gonzaga, Horibata, Co-Olga, Co-Wilton, Libanan, Lim Kaichong, Marañon, Marcoleta, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Nograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Pleito, Romero, Sali, Solon, Swansing Horacio, Tamayo, Tansamir, Tantambut, Ungab, Valmayor, Velasco, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar.
With 258 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 3 abstentions. House Bill Number 9985 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Secretary General be directed to transmit to the Senate all the bills that we have approved on third reading.
Is there an objection?
Calendar of business for the day, I move that we consider House Bill number 10145 under Committee Report number 1026, submitted by the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation. And for this purpose, I move that that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the said bill.
Is there any objection? Chair is none. Motion approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill Number 10145.
House Bill 10145, an act providing for a Philippine Medical Act, repealing for the purpose Republic Act Number 2382 as amended, otherwise known as the Medical Act of 1959.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Siriaco Bigato of the Lone District of Batanes to deliver his sponsorship speech.
The Honorable Siriato Gato, Chairman of the Committee on Health, is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, today I rise not only as a co-chairperson of the joint committees which tackle this important measure, but also as a medical doctor by profession. To have the honor and privilege to sponsor and seek your support for the passage of House Bill number 10145 under Committee Report number 1026, which seeks to update and modernize Republic Act Number 2382, otherwise known as the Medical Act of 1959. This law was instrumental in shaping our medical landscape for over 6 decades. The medical field, however, has undergone tremendous advancements since then. New technologies, specializations, and healthcare challenges have emerged. The current law struggles to address these developments effectively. The proposed measure will develop and nurture our physicians to be more competent in practice, ethically responsible, and globally competitive to properly address the existing and evolving demands of the profession, which will definitely redound to the benefit of the general public that it serves. This committee report is in substitution to several measures on the proposed Medical Act. House Bills number 0688, 1591, 6112, 6137, 7727, and 8057. The proposed House bill is a welcome development because it explicitly states what is currently needed in the practice of medicine in our country. One which is also aligned with Republic Act number 11223, or the Universal Healthcare Act, that aims to have a strong, efficient, and well-run health systems throughout the Philippines. To meet priority health needs, access to essential medicines, to cope with the continuous upgrading of various medical technologies, to accurately diagnose and effectively treat medical problems, to have a large core of highly trained and motivated health workers, and ultimately to provide quality services to the patient. The proposed measure also incorporates the current social realities that is not covered and included or plainly described in the existing law. This proposed piece of legislation underwent exhaustive consultations with different medical practitioners, associations, and health institutions, as well as partner government agencies. Further, it was deliberated extensively by the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation and the Committee on Health, including the conduct of technical working group meetings. In fact, last Congress, this legislative measure was already passed by the House and transmitted to the Senate. With this, Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, may I earnestly request your full support for the timely passage and approval of this message. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Gato. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 10145.
Is there any objection? There is none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended.
lang. Tambunting.
Parliamentary status.
Session resume. Majority Leader. Majority
Mr.
Leader.
Speaker,
Yes, what is the pleasure of the lady from the Gabriela party list?
yes, Mr. Speaker, I would like to make a speech on the 293rd. Uh, yes, Mr. Speaker, I would like to stand on a matter of personal and collective privilege.
You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today we pay tribute to the indomitable spirit of Gabriela Silang, the first female leader, La Generala, of the revolutionary movement against Spanish colonizers. On her 293rd birth anniversary, we commemorate her enduring legacy and unwavering dedication to our national sovereignty and the rights of the Filipino people. In light of the recent developments concerning proposed amendments to the Philippine Constitution aimed at allowing 100% foreign ownership in various sectors of the economy, we reiterate our commitment to upholding the principles of national sovereignty and territorial integrity. Today, as we honor the memory of Gabriela Silang, we are reminded of the importance of preserving our sovereignty and protecting the interests of our nation. We urge all Filipino women to stand united and continue the legacy of Gabriela Silang by defending the rights and interests of the Filipino people, rejecting the anti-people charter change, guarding against U.S. military intervention, as well as the military aggression and provocations of China in the West Philippine Sea. Taas noon nating ipinagmamalaki na buhay ang diwang makabayan at palaban ni Gabriela Silang sa lahat ng mga kababaihan na nagpapatuloy ng laban para sa kabuhayan, karapatan at kasarinlan. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brosas. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Arlene Brosas to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Motion is approved. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the guests of the Honorable Zia Raman Alonto Adjong of the 1st District of Lanao del Sur. Let's recognize Carmen Lauzon Gatmatian, Yasmin Busran Lao, Dayang Karna Bahijan, Nohaya Makusang, Siti Nur Daihana Muhammad, Charlene Medridijo, Janelle Estopacio, Beverly Serrano, Bencita Saliling, Raima Dimaapao, Nash Matula, Miriam Saosito, Fatima Pierre Alian, Ana Caspe, Jurma Tikmasan, Fariados Mawaro, Eileen Haulde, SP Hupida, Ninita Alian, Karen Tanada, Elizabeth Yang, RJ Fajardo, Mary Ann Dino, Beverly Orozco, Angelita Padilla, Gami Dapeg, Torfia Guantican, Jennifer Arau, Jean Ira Okubo, Clavel Navas Becchio, Getty Sandoval, Trevor Latayan, Khalil Basbasan, DK Fontamillas, Melanie Ruiz, Rochelle May Inoferio, Marlo Agbay, Liza Tumulak, Luz Bador, Melanie Vargas, Ana Luna Asis, Julius Jimenez, Evoy Villarreal, Joanne Lopez, Church Dolatre, Teres Zabala, Bianca Reyes, and Irene Pua.
Thank you, Majority Leader. This is the guest of
Zia Alonto Adjong.
one moment, Majority Leader. On behalf of the House, Speaker Martin Romualdez, welcome to the House of Representatives. Doon ba? Sukran. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, under the calendar of unfinished business, I move that we resume consideration on House Bill number 9349 under Committee Report number 962 submitted by Population and Family Relations. And for this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill.
Secretary General, please proceed.
House Bill 9349, an act reinstituting absolute divorce as an alternative mode for the dissolution of marriage.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, under the parliamentary status of the bill is that it is in the period of sponsorship and debate. I move that the author of the bill be recognized, the Honorable Edsel Lagman.
The representative from the province of Albay, Congressman or Representative Lagman, is recognized, sir. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am only one of the authors of the many authors of the bill.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the Honorable Eduardo Villanueva from the Sibac party list for his interpellation.
Please proceed.
Isa pong mapagpala at magandang araw sa lahat. Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor of this bill, legalization of absolute divorce bill, the highly esteemed living statesman in our country, Honorable Congressman Edsel Lagman, and to all our comrades here. Mr. Speaker, the honorable sponsor argues the divorce bill is not unconstitutional. With due respect to all, why is that so, Mr. Speaker?
Thank you for that question, the Honorable Brother Eddie Villanueva of Sibac Party List. The absolute divorce law bill, once it becomes a law, is constitutional. In other words, it is not unconstitutional. Despite the declaration of the norms and prescriptions in the Constitution, providing that marriage is an inviolable institution, that the marriage is the foundation of the family, and that marriage and family should be protected by the state. The Constitution does not prohibit the enactment of an absolute divorce law. Nowhere in our Constitution, as well as in the previous constitutions of 1935 and 1973, is there any provision prohibiting the legislature from enacting a divorce law. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, the members of the Constitutional Commission of 1986 unanimously agreed, under the leadership of the late Father Joaquin Bernas, that the Congress of the Philippines can enact a divorce law. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, we submit that the enactment of the divorce law is constitutional. As a matter of fact, there are many other countries which have the same provisions in their constitution on the protection of marriage and the family, on the sanctity of marriage, but these countries have all legalized divorce, including all Catholic countries, all Christian countries, except the Philippines and the tiny ecclesiastical state of the Vatican. We submit, therefore, Mr. Speaker, that this bill, once it becomes a law, is constitutional. It is not prohibited by the Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor. However, Mr. Speaker, how can you interpret divorce law vis-a-vis the clear, categorical, and expressed letters of Section 2, Article 15 of the Constitution, which says, marriage as an inviolable social institution is the foundation of the family and shall be protected by the state. Mr. Speaker, because my understanding is that whatever transpired in the proceedings of the constitutional framers, the fact still remains that no one objected to the inviolability of marriage in the country. It was carried to the letters of the Constitution. It was the actual wordings of the Constitution, including marriage is inviolable, that the people ratified overwhelmingly, not the minutes of the transcript of the opinions of the framers, but emphasizing that marriage is inviolable. All dictionaries agree, especially the Oxford Dictionary. Inviolable simply means, clearly means, incapable of being violated. Therefore, this letter of the Constitution should never be violated unless there is a change of the Constitution. Now, going back to the comment of the late Commissioner Gascon, by the way, yes, Mr. Speaker, I also want to state, just for the record, Commissioner Gascon introduced Section 2, Article 15 provisions. His intention was to discourage divorce in the Constitution. You can see the transcript on the screen. You can see the transcript on the screen. Just for the record, Mr. Speaker, what can you say about that, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, precisely the proceedings of the Constitutional Commission, as cited by the distinguished gentleman from Sibak Party List, would not be complete if we do not quote what subsequently transpired. No less than Commissioner Gascon said that these provisions on the inviolability of marriage does not prohibit Congress from enacting a divorce law. And that was the consensus without any objection from other members of the Constitutional Commission, including Father Bernas. Mr. Speaker, when we say inviolable, we set up a standard, a norm or prescription. It is not cast in stone. Because despite this provision in the Constitution, the commissioners said that Congress can pass an absolute divorce law. And in fact, no less than the Constitution does not prohibit Congress from enacting an absolute divorce law. In other words, inviolability would be a prescription, a norm, a standard, which is not cast in stone, as I have said, because many countries have similar or even identical provision, and they have the absolute divorce law, and in these countries, the law legalizing divorce is not deemed unconstitutional.
With due respect, Mr. Speaker and Honorable Sponsor, I maintain my absolute support to the very letters of the Constitution, that every letter of the Constitution must prevail over any remarks instantly made during the said Constitutional Commission hearing. However, let me go further. Let me move to my next point, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Sponsor. Last time, the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez cited a barrage of empirical studies which lay down the evidence that divorce negatively impacts the well-being of the children. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, I would also like to show on the screen this study by the U.S. National Survey of Children's Health, which shows that children who live with both biological parents or two adoptive parents are less likely to have ever repeated a grade in school compared to those who live with their mother only or with one biological parent or a step parent or in other family configurations such as with their father only or with foster parents. You can see that on the screen, Mr. Speaker. In addition, you can see here a wide percentage of gap. Both biological parents or two adoptive parents, the result of this survey, 6.5%, while step parents, 21.8%, mother only, 19.9%, and others, 21.9%. My point is, speaking of the general welfare and greatest interest of the children, it is very, very clear that divorce will surely produce disastrous devastation and destruction in the future of the children. Now, Mr. Speaker, my question is in the light, well, I would like to add in this interpellation, in addition, divorce negatively affects children's educational across time. A Dutch study using data from 18 national surveys, I repeat, 18 national surveys in the Netherlands show that the negative effects on the educational attainment of children of divorced or separated parents still persist even when divorce becomes socially acceptable. Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, my question is, in light of overwhelming empirical evidence, is not the divorce bill in direct contradiction to Article 2, Section 13 of the Constitution, which says, and quote, the state recognizes the vital role of the youth in nation building and shall promote and protect their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social being. Shall we allow the destruction of the future of the youths of the land and destroying the golden opportunities for our beloved country to be transformed as a great nation of God, or the nation as a great nation in this earth? Yes, Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, there are more recent and current empirical studies which show that children of divorced parents fare much better than children of parents in conflict who do not obtain any divorce. And I would like to underscore that it is not the divorce itself which make children have deficiencies and the situation before divorce, when children are exposed to the constant conflict and the toxic environment in failed, shattered marriages. That is the empirical study. It is not divorce which make these children having anxieties and deficiencies. It is prior to divorce, there are experience of conflict in the family. And this is now carried over in some cases to post-divorce. But in most cases, empirical studies worldwide, recent ones, more recent than the authorities cited by the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez, that they fare better, they are more resilient, they respect more authorities, and they respect the institution of marriage because they have learned from the experience of their parents. Scholars are now asserting that marital conflict, rather than divorce itself, is the single most critical determining factor in children's post-divorce adjustments. These inadequacies and anxieties are mitigated or even eliminated after the parents have divorced, since the children are no longer exposed to conflict. The long-term consequence for most children of divorced parents is resiliency rather than dysfunction. Co-parenting, albeit separate, is enhanced after the divorce, since co-parenting is decreed by the court and parents seriously seek for the care of and affection from their children. These are documented empirical studies. And in the proposed bill, we have provided that the court will decree on co-parenting, custody, as well as support of children. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, with due respect to our beloved honorable sponsor, we will validate if the studies, quote unquote, being cited by the honorable sponsor are true empirical research of studies or studies carried out by scholars. Because my staff checked the works cited by the sponsor last time, like the works of psychologist Kathy Hardy Williams, and found that it is more of a blog rather than a full-fledged research or study. I say this because, Mr. Speaker, in the literature of the effects of divorce on the well-being of children, practically all findings, I repeat, practically all findings go to the direction that divorce negatively impacts children in varying degrees. It is just surprising and unusual to encounter a study that says otherwise. Going on further, Mr. Speaker, there are empirical studies that say divorce dramatically increases the risk of the children's future marriage to also get divorced. The well-established phenomenon is called, and I quote, intergenerational transmission of divorce, unquote. Is the honorable sponsor aware of this well-documented phenomenon? This is not just a passé surveys. For example, Mr. Speaker, you can see on the screen the following studies. Number one, the transmission of marital instability across generations. Relationship skills or commitment to marriage by Paul Amato and Daniel DeBoer, 2001, published in Journal of Marriage and Family. Second, the unexpected legacy of divorce. Report of a 25-year study. I repeat, report of a 25-year study by Judith Wallerstein, 2004, published in Psychoanalytic Psychology Journal. Third, Understanding the Divorce Cycle. The Children of Divorce in Their Own Marriages, written by Nicholas Wolfinger, 2005. And fourth, last but not least, the intergenerational transmission of family dissolution, how it varies by social class origin and birth cohort by Alessandro Danaglio and Daniel O.S., 2023, published in European Journal Population. Mr. Speaker and beloved honorable sponsor,
Yes.
All of these support the findings that divorce begets divorce. Divorce results in fewer marriages, poorer marriages, and more divorces. This means that the children of divorced parents are insignificant risk of having their own marriages end up in divorce. Simply put, parental divorce is one of the best documented risk factors for marriage dissolution of children. These are empirical studies, not mere speculations. Hence, very clear, this could lead to vicious cycle of horrible damages to society. In fact, the works of Amato and De Boer said that if a woman's parents divorce, her odds of divorce increase 69%. While if both a husband and wife's parents divorce, the risk of divorce increased by 189%. What can you say about this, Mr. Speaker, and our highly esteemed honorable sponsor?
Mr. Speaker, the distinguished gentleman cited Amato as an author of one of the studies he mentioned. But let me cite Amato, his study in 2011, recent. He said, conflict between family members was more important than the occurrence of the divorce in determining the children's welfare. Another study, newer research on the impact of divorce on children shows that when children have difficulties post-divorce, it is related to specific factors that are associated with divorce but are not a result of divorce itself. Rappaport, Deconstructing the Effects of Divorce on Children, 2003. Next, divorce actually provides children with the opportunity to develop in an environment with fewer stressors by removing children from high conflict household. Paul Amato et al. Reconsidering the Good Divorce, 2011. Recent researchers report that as the stressors decrease and children adjust to the changes in their lives, children's difficulties decrease. In fact, as children adjust to the divorce, they do better as compared to children of high conflict, non-divorced families. Navy's Heather Tone and Margaret Stanley Hagen. The Adjustment of Children with Divorced Parents, a Risk and Resiliency Perspective, Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry. Another, children of parents who divorce do not have a much higher frequency of mental health problems than their non-divorced counterparts. Whiteside and Betsy Jane Becker, Parental Factors and the Young Children's Post-Divorce Adjustment, a meta-analysis with implications for parenting arrangement, 2010. Most children do well post-divorce and do not seem different from their peers who are from intact families. Ellen Mabie's Social Support and the Adjustment of Children and Divorced and Remarried Families, 2003. Then, another study, there is no causal relationship between parental divorce and attachment insecurity, depression, or low esteem. Bernstein, Rosemary et al., Parental Divorce and Romantic Attachment in Young Adulthood, 2012. These are empirical studies which show that children in the post-divorce stage cope with difficulties, although these difficulties were there before the divorce, and they are mitigated or corrected after the divorce. Now, let me ask, Mr. Speaker, if it is true that divorce is inimical to children, why are countries not repealing their divorce decrees? Why are countries legitimizing divorce? All countries except the Philippines and the Vatican. I would submit, Mr. Speaker, that there can be no unanimity in blunder in recognizing divorce in all of these countries. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, I maintain the basic maxim that the general rule must prevail over the exceptions. Be that as it may, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, my question is that given the foregoing empirical studies mentioned, would you not agree that the divorce bill contradicts the following constitutional provisions? I believe the wordings, the letters of our Constitution should not just be relegated to any perceptions or studies of some groups without a thorough research of the scholars. Because empirical means gained through experience, scientific experiments, and observation give rise to empirical data rather than on theory or logic. Like for instance, very, very clear, the Article 15, Section 1 of our precious Constitution. The state recognizes the Filipino family as the foundation of the nation. Accordingly, it shall strengthen its solidarity and actively promote its total development. So glaring. In Article 2, Section 13, the state recognizes the vital role of the youth in nation building and shall promote and protect their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social being. Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor, after knowing these empirical studies mentioned by this representation, I can recall Honorable Ropus Rodriguez last time demonstrating the destructive effects of divorce on children, both in the short term and long term. Do you still propose divorce bill is constitutional? I am afraid that we should not overlook the importance of the signs of the times, because not because many countries are now succumbing to the will of the enemy of God, that legalization of divorce is becoming a natural trend. We should not forget the famous statement of Dr. Billy Graham during the prime years of his ministry. He categorically stated, as we are nearing to the second coming of Jesus Christ, the world will become worse and worse, but the faithful, obedient people of God will become better and better. Now, the Bible also, I suddenly remember this, not because many countries are now succumbing to the will, sorry to say, to the will of the enemy of God. As the Bible says in John 10:10, Jesus said, the thief, referring to Satan, cometh not but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I came to give life and have it more abundantly. Citing that majority of countries in these last days are succumbing to the so-called Satan's will, I just want to remind everybody, especially our honorable sponsor, in Matthew 7:13, verse 14, enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in it by it. Because narrow is the gate, and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. Just a simple reminder that majority does not necessarily mean right. Granting, for the sake of argument, that only the Vatican State and the Philippines are the remaining countries in the world who refuse to violate, who refuse to go to the trending of the world, that family should no longer be so sacred as envisioned by the Creator of heavens and the earth, the Almighty God, as well as supported by our Constitution, that the youth of the nation shall be protected. The welfare of the youth in nation building must be all out protected, physically, morally, spiritually, intellectually, and their social being. Now, I think, would it not be right, Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor, this time we have to remind the parents in our country that there is a urgency for parents to sacrifice their selfishness, their personal convenience, for the sake of the security and better future of their children and children's children, or else. What can we hope for a nation when the youth of the land is destroyed? How can we fulfill our common quest that this nation someday will be great again, when the deterioration of the youth of the land will be supported even by the state? So what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor, I believe passing a divorce bill, my simple question, another simple question, is it right to say we are more willing to have happy remarriages at the expense of children's having healthy, cohesive families in the future? Could not this be myopic, selfish interest of the parents versus the brightest future of millions of children? Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for reminding me of the words of God. But most probably, I don't have to be reminded. I am a good Catholic. But, Mr. Speaker, divorce does not destroy a marriage. Divorce does not make a marriage violable. Because in a divorce proceedings, there is no more marriage to talk about. It has been shattered, broken, most probably beyond recognition. What is before the family court is not a vibrant, enduring, and loving marriage. What is before the family court is a cadaver of a marriage. So divorce definitely does not destroy a marriage. Divorce gives spouses under very serious conflict, particularly a wife who is abused, violated, abandoned, to have a second chance of having her liberty as well as her self-respect. No less that the Supreme Court said in Te versus Te, and let me repeat that. The Supreme Court said, the dissolution of a marriage is a merciful interment of a long dead marriage. It is a wrong notion that divorce destroys a marriage. before a divorce proceeding starts, the marriage is already beyond salvation. And let me underscore that although we respect the dogma of the church, the Philippines is a secular state. Marriage is a secular institution, and it would be subject to the various legislation which would protect marriage as well as protect those couples who are in a broken and irreparably destroyed marriage. No less than the Catholic countries in the world, the Christian countries have already legalized divorce. In other words, divorce is not against the word of God. Divorce is not against the tenets of the Catholic or Christian religion. Otherwise, these Catholic countries will not legalize divorce. And these are firstly Catholic countries like Ireland, like Spain, which brought to us our religious faith, like the Latin American countries. In fact, in the Latin American countries, they make divorce so easy because they have what is known as notarial divorce. But these are Catholic countries, Mr. Speaker. And what is the frequency of divorce worldwide? It is very low. In Colombia, it is 0.7% out of 1,000 marriages. And that is the score practically worldwide. Some countries are even lower in the ratio. In other words, the divorce does not open the floodgates to divorces and separation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
With due respect, Mr. Speaker, with due respect to our highly esteemed honorable sponsor, I would like to remind everybody that making marriage like in America, in Las Vegas, every day there are couples entering into marriage, and then few days after, they will just file divorces. Ang pag-aasawa sa ibang bansa na tinatawag na progressive Western countries ay parang pagpapalit ng damit. Nawala ng sacredness na tinuturo ng banal na kasulatan or the Bible. Wala na rin ang respeto sa pamilya. Kaya I stand firmly, this article 15, section 1, the state recognizes the Filipino family as the foundation of the nation. Accordingly, it shall strengthen its solidarity and actively promote its total development. In Article 2, Section 13, the state recognizes the vital role of the youth in nation building, again, I repeat, and shall promote and protect their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual well-being. Now, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, after knowing those empirical studies mentioned by this representation and Honorable Rodriguez last time, demonstrating the destructive effects of divorce on children, both in short term and long term, now are we willing to have happy remarriages, happy remarriages at the expense of children's healthy and cohesive families in the future? Again, I respect the contention of Mr. Speaker of our honorable sponsor. But just a reminder again, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, if the family is the real foundation of the nation, as the Constitution clearly says, and this bill will weaken it, don't you think, Your Honor, that we are ruining the future of our country by enacting this bill, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor?
Mr. Speaker, definitely no. We always say that the family is the foundation of the nation, that marriage is the foundation of the family. But a family in conflict, a family on fire, cannot be the foundation of the nation. We will have to rescue the parents and children from that family on fire if we have to achieve the doctrinal exhortation in our Constitution that the family is the foundation of the nation. How can you have a shattered family, a foundation of the nation? Mr. Speaker, I don't think it's God's will that divorce happen, but it's God's allowance, an act of grace for when His people had fallen short of His standard of marriage. Mr. Speaker, in the conversation of Jesus Christ with the Pharisees, when He said that what God has put together, no one must separate, He instantly made an exception for a valid divorce from an unchaste woman or an unchaste wife. St. Paul, in his Pauline principle, added that an unbeliever can be divorced by a believer and the latter can remarry. In other words, all of these prescriptions, all of these exhortations are not cast in stone because there is no rule without an exception. Divorce is an exception because divorce is not for everybody, not for every Filipino married man or woman, because in the Philippines, the overwhelming majority of married couples have enduring and loving relationships. Divorce is for the exception. Those who are in shattered marriages, which cannot be anymore repaired. That is also an obligation of the state. As it is said, marriages are solemnized in heaven, but some marriages irretrievably plummet into hell because of human frailty and mortal misgivings. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
With due respect, Mr. Speaker, to our honorable sponsor, I respect his contention. I am believing he is so sincere in what he is believing. But sincerity is not enough to nullify the absolute truth being taught by the Holy Bible. In Mark chapter 10, in Matthew chapter 19, and even in Malachi chapter 2, verse 16, as already quoted by Honorable Marcoleta in the previous interpellation, he said, our Creator said emphatically, He hates divorce. Malachi chapter 2, verse 16. We as creations, Why do we have to oppose our Creator? Secondly, the thing being mentioned by honorable sponsor is, I would say, I have to correct the interpretation. During the time of Moses, the Bible clearly says, divorce was really anathema at the time, but Moses allowed some people to issue certificate of divorce because of the hardness of their heart. And this was quoted by Jesus during his public ministry. The perfect will of God is not to allow divorce. He hates divorce. However, because God has given every human being a free will, human being is allowed to exercise his free will, whether to please God or to please the world. Now, Mr. Speaker, I maintain that this legalization of absolute divorce is absolutely unconstitutional. However, I have to move on, going to the next point. This is about, is it pro-woman? Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, it is said that this divorce bill is pro-woman. Am I correct in saying that, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, why is that so?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. This bill is definitely pro-women. And
Thank you.
data indelibly show that the overwhelming majority of the aggrieved spouses in shattered marriages due to violence, abuse, marital infidelity, and abandonment are the wives. Traditionally, in a marriage relation, the husband is more ascendant than the wife. It is the woman who is actually and usually brutalized, and it is the man who philanders and gets away with it. Under these foreboding and unequal circumstances, a wife needs absolute divorce more than the husband. Consequently, the absolute divorce is granted to liberate these women from a broken and toxic relation. Hence, absolute divorce is a pro-women legislation. Worldwide, data also show that majority of the petitioners seeking divorce are women. Moreover, in a divorce proceedings, the wife as the innocent spouse needs a court-decreed alimony and support for the child or children under her custody. And this is decreed by the family court. Finally, absolute divorce is not only a woman's issue. It is a poor woman's issue. Poor women cannot afford the exorbitant expense of legal separation or annulment of marriage or the nullification of marriage. This bill seeks to rectify this problem by ensuring that divorce proceedings are affordable and expeditious. And for those who qualify to be court-assisted petitioners, it is cost-free. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, it is based on empirical evidences. It is our observation that the bill does not sufficiently protect poor housewives and women who do not have the capacity to go to employment for their own source of income, possibly due to age, lack of work experience, and or for any other reasons. In this bill, the court can require the husband to give support to the wife up to 3 years only. And the requirement does not come with a strict penalty if not complied with. Because if the husband does not comply with the order of the court would only cite the said husband in contempt of court. I understand that in the bill there are some specific penalties provided, but the disadvantaged wife, who has no money in the first place because she is poor, would need to go to court to have these penalties imposed. Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, assuming there is a poor mother who does not remarry after a grant of divorce decree and is therefore burdened by solo parenting of small children, how would that single mother possibly be sustained of her daily needs if the defaulting spouse who fails to provide alimony would only get a slap in the wrist in the form of contempt of court? How do we address this issue, Mr. Speaker? Honorable sponsor, what will be the fate of the poor woman after 3 years? Moreover, is it right to say that this situation will force poor divorced mothers deeper into poverty? Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, is it also right to say that the situation may also force them to contract a second marriage in order for them to have a co-parent to sustain their needs and to support their children? What if they don't find a second husband to marry? Another question, Mr. Speaker, is that it would be a better choice for us to strengthen legal separation under our family code rather than pushing couples to resort to divorce, which leaves women more vulnerable. If, according to the proponents, the divorce bill still hopes for the reconciliation of the spouse, this is another point. I'm giving way, of course, to honorable sponsor to make the remarks after my reply.
Mr. Speaker, I hope the distinguished gentleman is not suggesting that poor unemployed women should just continue being enslaved in a toxic and broken marriage just because a divorce will not grant them sufficient alimony for a long time. Mr. Speaker, we are giving this divorce in order to afford women to be liberated from a hellish relationship. If the distinguished gentleman would like to extend further the duration of the alimony, then he can make the proper amendment at the proper time. We may consider accepting such suggestion. But definitely, let us not force women to be in a toxic, violent marriage just because she is poor and could not afford to be separated from the abusive, philandering husband who might have even abandoned her already without any support at all. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, again, I respect the contention of our honorable sponsor. But going to my next point, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, there are researches that show that men are actually the ones better off after a divorce. Examples, in Germany, a study by Thomas Leopold in 2014 found out that women were strongly disadvantaged in terms of losses in household income and associated increases in the risk of poverty after divorce. Moreover, women's disproportionate losses in economic status were permanent. Taken together, the findings suggest that men's disproportionate strain of divorce is transient only, whereas women's is chronic. In United Kingdom, research from London School of Economics showed that women's household income fell by 20% after divorce, while men's household income rose by 30% after divorce. Are we really after justice? I am afraid that we might overlook the empirical evidences. Mr. Speaker, given these studies, how can you explain that divorce is still pro-woman and not pro-man?
I have explained it already, Madam Speaker, why divorce is a pro-women legislation. If there are cases where the divorce would benefit the men, then they are more the exception than the rule, because definitely it is the woman who suffers in a toxic, violent, abandoned marriage. And no empirical study can dispute this.
Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, I'll try to abbreviate the basis of my presentation of this interpellation. But still, I would like to remind everybody, if the evidence shows that divorce is anti-woman, is it then right to argue that divorce is also anti-children? Since reduced income for the family means lesser benefits for children. However, as our honorable speaker already said, he had already given answers to those questions. And therefore, I thank you for all these questions, for answering my questions. But unfortunately, the evidence shows that the divorce bill is not absolutely and wholly a pro-woman, pro-children, and pro-family legislation, because studies show that divorced women are more economically vulnerable and are worse off than men after the divorce. In addition, children are also placed in more adverse situations after the divorce. That's why I am opening our eyes that we could probably improve the so-called legal separation clause in our laws, or the annulment of marriage or declaration of nullity, rather than violate the command of God and invite and violate the Constitution. Now, going to my next point, Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor. A survey by Okta Research Group last October 2023 found out that 51% of Filipinos oppose legalizing divorce, while 41% approve it, and 9% were undecided. Across socioeconomic classes, Filipinos are not in favor of legalizing divorce in the country. Mr. Speaker, what can honorable sponsor say about this?
I answered the same question already, propounded by the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. And I said that the quality and integrity of a survey would depend basically on the question asked. And in the Okta survey, the question was very general. Says whether you agree or disagree with a divorce law. It does not place the respondent in a particular situation. The survey of other firms would be a much better survey because it places the respondent in a particular situation. Because if your question is, do you agree or disagree with an absolute divorce law? Then if you are happily married, then definitely you do not need a divorce law, and your answer will be no. And the majority, the overwhelming majority of the Filipino couples who are married are happy and have enduring relationship. The question could have been better if it places the respondent in a particular situation. Like, for example, do you agree that a couple who have been separated de facto for 5 years should be allowed to be divorced? Then that is very specific, and you will get a truthful, honest answer to the question. That was not the case of Octa survey. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, with due respect, I just want to remind everybody that Octa Research Group is a foundation, non-profit, non-stock, compared to other survey companies. Now, in Philosophy 101, I learned this from some professors, and I highly esteem our honorable sponsor being I would say, a legal luminary in our country. Every person who knows anyone who has reasonable knowledge on the ropes of public surveying, there is a fallacious practice. Why? Because if we want the results of the survey to favor our cause, it depends on the nature and kind of questioning. Every person with reasonable knowledge on public survey, this is a fact.
Honorable
Research
Villanueva,
Group,
if you can wrap up your last question, please.
Octa Research Group presented this survey independently of any profit motive whatsoever. Now, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, I'll try to abbreviate because I have 6 major points to present. First of all, lest I may forget, I have with me copies of the position paper of the CBCP, or Catholic CBCP, the arm of the Catholic Church, as well as the Philippine Council of Evangelical Churches, as well as the official position paper of the Philippines for Jesus Movement, membering coalition of churches all over Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And in the said, I was informed that this bill was approved just in one hearing of the committee, and they were denied of presenting the voices of the vast majority of faith community in this country. That's why I prepared more or less 6 major pointers to be given a chance. That's why I'm begging for reasonable time as given to Honorable Rufus Rodriguez one time. I'm not necessarily asking for a second round, but just to finish this presentation. If the honorable sponsor would agree, I will just read continuously. Thank you, Mr. Honorable Sponsor. Now regarding...
Yes, Madam Speaker, subject to the ruling of the chair.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, is it correct that only... I'll just read continuously until I concluded. Is it correct, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Sponsor, that it took only one hearing for the resource persons to deliver and echo their position on the bill during the first one and only hearing of the Second Committee on Population and Family Relations. I also inquire if a divorce bill was passed on third reading in the immediately preceding Congress, which is 18th Congress, and I discovered it was not in 18th Congress, but in the so-called 17th Congress, it was passed. And one of the questions of the multi-sectoral groups that presented to me, may we know how many were the members of the Committee on Population and Family Relations back in the 17th Congress, who are also members of the same committee now in the 19th Congress? Because this was fast-tracked, in effect railroaded by the first hearing, by one and only first hearing, without giving chances to major faith community in the country, because of the reason that it was already approved in 17th Congress. Our simple question is, who are the members of the 19th Congress Committee are the same members of the 17th Congress? Now, I'll go to one glaring conclusion, Mr. Speaker, that the answers to my questions, of course, I have to thank our honorable sponsor. But there are lingering questions on the appropriateness of passing a divorce law because there is popular opposition to the bill. The bill under deliberation for this representation was not extensively debated upon the committee level, therefore depriving current committee members from thoroughly scrutinizing the bill. Mr. Speaker, I would like to reiterate my position that we could have held more extensive committee hearings so that more points of view could have been taken into consideration. Just for the record, Mr. Speaker, considering that legalization of absolute divorce could wreak havoc or irreparable destruction and disasters to the entire Philippine society, I just appeal that the vast majority or the so-called the vast community or faith community should be given a chance to air their voices. Regards the divorce and annulment, this is what our stand, Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor. Declaration of policy keeps on mentioning irremediably failed marriages and irreparably broken or dysfunctional marriages. Mr. Speaker, may I ask what is the honorable sponsor contemplating when the bill employs these words or phrases? Can the honorable sponsor give this representation actual or concrete examples of marriages that are irremediable or irreparable broken? Let's continue, Mr. Speaker and honorable sponsor. I ask this Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Speaker, I'm sorry, because I have been seeing a lot of seemingly hopeless marriages yet restored and revived through the mercy and grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, and of course, with the aid of the necessary intervention. Would the honorable sponsor concede that these experiences can be valid, that some seemingly hopeless marriages have experienced revival restoration? Again, this is the reason why I view divorce as uncalled or a premature death sentence to still breathing marriages and not indecent interment of a long dead marriage, as the honorable sponsor is always saying. For this representation, there is no such thing as irretrievable marriage in the sense that it is beyond hope. A marriage restoration is up to the willingness of the spouses to pursue the marriage, how difficult it might be. And for me, it is on this juncture that the state should intervene to save marriages. Moreover, I remember if the sponsor of this legalization of absolute divorce bill has been emphasizing the important assistance and aids of the government or the state to the applicant for the divorce or the aggrieved party. Don't we realize that if the said assistance and aid of the state to the aggrieved party in the divorce case would also be extended to those who are applying for nullification of marriage or annulment of marriage or legal separation? Could it not be very clear that this annulment of marriage or declaration of nullity could still also be cheaper as the divorce bill? Again, I have to abbreviate my questioning just to satisfy the shortening of the of this discussion. Mr. Speaker, for the sake of discussion, if the bill will not grant or will not provide this mechanism that make divorce cases affordable and expeditious, can the honorable sponsor give an ultimate estimate or idea how much will divorce cases cost and how long will it take to get a decision? Before you answer, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Sponsor, let me continue my briefs. Mr. Speaker, if the provision in the bill that make divorce cheap and pass, namely assistance for court-assisted petitioners, mandatory decision within 1 year, availability of psychologists, psychiatrists, lawyers to help the petitioners would also be made available to improve the annulment process. Don't you think annulment in the country would also be affordable, accessible, expeditious? Moreover, another one, I raised this, Mr. Speaker, because the Supreme Court, in a landmark case of Andal versus Andal Tan, dated 11 May 2021, decided that psychological incapacity is a legal concept and no longer a medical concept. Therefore, annulment cases on the ground of psychological incapacity does not necessarily require a psychologist or a psychiatrist evaluation, report, or certification to serve as an expert witness. Okay, because of the I am being requested to go to my conclusion. One additional question. How I wish the survey companies of Okta as well as SWS as well as the Solicitor General of the Philippines be invited to shed lights on this matter. However, I would like to emphasize that the Philippines is not right not to have a divorce. Now I will abbreviate this. I have still many pages to read. But in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, that ends my interpellation. But before I conclude, this representation would like to emphasize its firm and unwavering commitment for the sake of history, for the sake of the eyes of eternity. This representation would like to emphasize its firm and unwavering commitment to stand on the solid ground of 100% support to the Philippine Constitution, being the soul of the nation, while also committing to full obedience and respect to the commands and teachings of the Almighty God, whom the Filipino people revere as the creator of life, family, and institution of marriage itself. Thus, I conclude, this representation reiterates my opposition to the divorce bill based on the following. Number one, an absolute divorce law is unconstitutional. For this representation, the constitutional question is not only in reference to Article 15, Section 2, which states the inviolability of marriages, but also view of Article 15, Section 1, which mandates the protection of the Filipino family as the foundation of the nation. It also raises constitutional question with respect to Article 2, Section 13, which mandates that the state should promote and protect the physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social being of the youth. Empirical studies show that divorce negatively affects the family, especially children, in all aspects, thus weakening the foundation of our beloved nation. Point number two, contrary to what proponents are saying, divorce is not automatically and wholly pro-woman and pro-children legislation, because studies show that divorced women are not in a better position than men after the divorce. In fact, divorce is anti-poor woman. In addition, children are placed in adverse situation after the divorce. Number three, the appropriateness of passing a divorce law is questionable because there is popular opposition to the bill. And the bill under deliberation for this representation was not extensively debated upon all the committee level, therefore depriving current committee members from thoroughly scrutinizing it, especially the vast faith community, where there are at least 13.5 million members of the body of Christ who were denied to hear and to listen to in voicing their sentiments. Number four, we believe that between divorce and annulment is more akin to the constitutional mandate of protecting the institution of marriage and is more aligned to Filipino culture. If the services and government assistance that will be mandated by this bill for divorce cases would also be applied to annulment cases, we argue that the annulment process would also become a cheaper, accessible, and more expeditious remedy to problem messages. Number five, A divorce law is not appropriate in our context as a developing country where most families are poor and financially challenged. With the current economic situation of the Philippines, many married couples are having a hard time raising a family. Often the cause of a couple's misunderstanding center on financial matters and their economic status uh, center on their financial matters and their economic status. Couple might wrongly and hastily construe a situation as needing divorce where, in fact, they might just need to resolve financial issues within the family. Lastly, number 6, for me, the most important, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, whom I highly esteem, divorce is out of the will, design, and purpose of God. God himself is the architect of the institution of marriage, explicitly says in Malachi 2:16, I hate divorce, quote unquote. For sure, God is infinitely informed of the pros and cons of dissolving a problematic marriage by a divorce. When God says, quote, I hate divorce, unquote, he is not unmindful of the possibility that human failure might lead to broken marriages, nor is he obvious of the reality of struggling marriages. Yet, in all of the omniscient knowledge and sovereign judgment, which seeks nothing but the best for our welfare, he still decrees, I hate divorce, quote unquote. Of course, I will never be the case that we are more intelligent than our Creator. God hates divorce and therefore we should hate it too. Wala pong talo kung tayo susunod sa kalooban ng Diyos. Ito po ang tiyak na paraan upang ang pamilyang Pilipino ay pagpalain ng Diyos. Otherwise, we would be judged in eternity as committing direct rebellion against the perfect will of God and might suffer eternal damnation in the lake of fire of hell. For as the Bible says, obedience brings overflowing blessings, while disobedience rains down horrible curses. Allow me to quote these worthy reminders of the Holy Scripture. In Deuteronomy 28, verses 1, NIV version, God said, if you fully obey, not just obey, but fully obey and carefully follow, not just follow, but carefully follow, all commandments of God and teachings of God, God said, I will exalt your nation above all nations of the earth. I will command the coming of the blessings to you. Blessings will overtake you, not disasters, not calamities. You will no longer borrow, you will no longer lend. You will no longer borrow nor beg, but you will lend. You will no longer be the tail, but you will be the head. Your enemy will come to you one way, but 7 ways they will run away from you in great fear and trembling. Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 to 14, very clear, blessings through obedience. The counterpart of this is curses through disobedience. In Deuteronomy 28, verses 15 up to verse 68, the several curses will happen to a nation because of disobedience. Now, sometimes following God's will is not pleasant or easy. But the Word of God says that we will offend the world or offend God. If I would rather have God, there is a challenge to all of us before I close. The Word of God says we will offend the Word or offend God. I would rather have God on my side any day of my life. I hope that we will take heed of God's word as we scrutinize and decide on this bill. Before I finally wrap up, let me read the precious preamble of the Philippine Constitution, acknowledging the existence of God. Because there are some people who refuse to believe God, like me when I was still an atheist and radical activist. But the very preamble of the Philippine Constitution acknowledges the existence of God, and I quote, we, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God in order to build a just and humane society and establish a government that shall embody our ideals and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, and secure to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of independence and democracy under the rule of law, and a regime of truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace do ordain and promulgate this Constitution, unquote. Now, as I end, a reminder to everyone, especially to my beloved honorable sponsor, I still salute him for being a living statesman in our country. I believe he is so sincere in what he is fighting for. But as I've said, when I was a radical atheist, I was very also sincere, but sincerely wrong when I rebelled against God. And now there is, in Matthew 7, verse 13 to verse 14, reminder to all, especially to our countrymen, there are two roads. There are two roads in our earthly existence. One big road, wide road. So many people are going to that road, but the end is eternal destruction in eternal damnation in hell. There is a narrow gate, a narrow road. Very few are taking that road, but the end of that road is the pearly gates of heaven in eternity. This is just my appeal because I love you all, whether you believe it or not. I have no any personal grudge to anyone. I'm just standing here to fulfill my duty for my countrymen before the eyes of history and before the eyes of eternity. And again, I thank our honorable sponsor, Mr. Speaker, for believing what Voltaire said, the famous philosopher Voltaire. He said, I may disagree with what you are saying, but I will defend till my death my right to say it. Your right to say it. Meaning, I may disagree with what you are believing, I may disagree with what you are fighting for, but I am willing to defend your right to say it till my death, unquote. And also a reminder from Edmund Burke's famous statement, for what is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. This is a famous statement emanated from James chapter 4, verse 17, from this statesman, political statesman, more than 100 years in United Kingdom. For what is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And this is emanated in James 4:17, and I quote, if you know the good things to do and you don't do, you sin, unquote. I do hope that you can understand why I stood up before this, I would say, August chamber of the House of Representatives of the Congress of the Philippines, especially in this controversial issue, legalizing the absolute divorce bill. Again,
Thank you, Honorable Villanueva. Thank you, Honorable Lagman.
Madam
Any closing statement, Honorable Lagman?
I just want to finish my last sentence. I hope that we will take heed of God's word as we scrutinize and decide on this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Honorable Sponsor. Thank you, distinguished colleagues, for your patience. God bless you more, and God bless the Philippines.
Thank you.
Madam
Honorable
Speaker,
Lagman, yes. Please proceed.
I would like to thank the Honorable Representative Villanueva for his godly intervention. But just short response. One, the absolute bill has been filed every Congress since the 8th Congress. And during the 17th and 18th Congresses, this bill was extensively discussed and debated in the proper committee. Considering its passage on third and final reading previously, under a rule, it was given a fast lane, but still, the committee conducted a hearing and everybody was invited to attend. Even the Honorable Villanueva was notified of the meeting. Unfortunately, I don't recall that he was present. Although he was present through Zoom during the 18th Congress, but I don't think he really participated. Number two, divorce is only an option. We have not repealed the provisions on nullification of dissolution or nullification of marriage, the legal separation provision, as well as the annulment provisions. Aggrieved spouses have 4 options, and they can avail of the divorce bill, which is more comprehensive and expeditious and affordable, or they can avail of annulment, legal separation, or dissolution of marriage. Incidentally, dissolution of marriage is the canonical divorce recognized by the Catholic hierarchy. In fact, it is in the family code because of the persistence of the Catholic hierarchy to include it there. In other words, even the church has its own divorce. Now, let me just state as a final assertion. Well, we admit that in the scripture, God hates divorce. But God himself gave men free will. And in exercise of that free will, men have decided to legitimize divorce under valid circumstances. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Honorable
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker,
Madam
Mrs.
Speaker,
Madam
may
Speaker,
we now
just 1 minute. Madam Speaker, if Congressman Rupus was given sufficient time, I just want to have 1 minute because the last sentence of our beloved honorable sponsor is so very important for everybody to hear. I discovered, and the Christian leaders comprising 13.5 million of the body of Christ in the Philippines confessed to me. No one among them, like Bishop Noel Pantoja, the Philippine Council of Evangelical Churches, Bishop Leo Alconga, the national president of the Philippine Council of the Philippines Evangelist Movement, and Reverend Domingo Rivera, the national president of MAP, Ministerial Association of the Philippines. They were never invited in the first one and only hearing conducted by the Committee on Population and Family Relations. It is on record. That's why we are just appealing for more time to be given a chance to voice out. Moreover, I just want to emphasize that by making the annulment proceeding pro pur, or nullification of marriage pro pur, we will be avoiding to be cursed, to be directly assaulting and rebellious against God himself, and we will be avoiding to violate the Constitution of the Philippines. Why not just make the annulment marriage a law, or the nullification of marriage be pro pur, so that we can enjoy life here on earth without sort of Democrats that we might be condemned in eternity. That's all, Madam Speaker and honorable sponsor. Thank you for your patience. God bless you more.
Madam Speaker, during the hearing, Bishop Aldrin Piñamora manifested that he was going to represent all of the other kindred associations. Now, let me just also emphasize that in annulment of marriage, the causes are contemporaneous with the marriage. They do not cover subsequent causes after the marriage and during cohabitation, and this is covered by the divorce law.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, before we proceed with the next interpolator, may we acknowledge and recognize the guests of Party List Representative Brother Eddie, Villanueva. We have the Jesus is Lord Church pastors with us, Madam Speaker.
Yes, to the guests of our party list representative, Brother Eddie Villanueva, welcome to the Jesus is Lord Church pastors. Welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, may we also acknowledge and welcome to the House of Representatives the guests of Representative Elizalde Co and Representative Raul Angelo Gil Bongalon of ACO Bicol Party List and Representative Joey Sarte Salceda of the 2nd District of Albay. We have Isham Ismail, the Provincial President of Legazpi City, Albay, Eric Castillo, Provincial President Aroroy Masbate, Christopher Jacinto, Provincial President of Lupi Camarines Sur, T.I. Villamor of Panganiban, Catanduanes, Provincial President, Corazon Peñaflor, Provincial President, Naga City, Rebecca Padilla, Provincial President of Daet, Camarines Norte, J.P. Lee, City Councilor of Legazpi City, Albay, Arlene Bernacer, and Andrew Gonzalez.
To the guests of Representative Elizalde Co and Representative Raul Angelo Il Bongalon of ACO Bicol Party List and Representative Joey Sarte Salceda of the 2nd District of Albay, to their guests from the Liga ng mga Barangay from Bicol Region, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, may we recognize the next interpellator, the Honorable Paul Daza from the 1st District of Northern Samar.
The Honorable Paul Daza is recognized for his interpellation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the sponsor yield to a few questions?
Willingly, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. First of all, I know that previous interpellators have focused on the constitutional aspects, but I'd like to put it on the record for myself also, because what was cited earlier on Article 15, which my recollection is the section of our Constitution that deals with family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And, Madam Speaker, the Section 2 that was already cited earlier and in previous questioning, it said that marriage as an inviolable social institution. Now, just to make sure that I really understood that word, I looked it up, and what showed up when I asked my staff to really get the meaning of inviolable is it means never to be broken, infringed, or dishonored. Would that be a fair definition of inviolable?
That is the literal meaning, Your Honor.
And when we interpret, whether it's the Constitution or statutory interpretation, civil code, isn't the literary meaning essentially the first way of interpreting that particular provision? In this case, marriage is an inviolable social institution. I can't see another way of interpreting that. Would there be another way of interpreting inviolable other than stating that it means never to be broken, infringed, or dishonored?
Well, Your Honor, there can be other ways of interpreting that, because this constitutional declaration, as I've said, is not cast on stone. It is a prescription. It is a norm. And when we interpret words in the Constitution or provisions in the Constitution, we should be able to assess the contemporaneous interpretation of those who made the Constitution, and also to read it or interpret it or construct it together with other provisions of the Constitution. So, what was the contemporaneous construction of this provision? No less than the commissioners of the Constitutional Commission of 1986 declared that despite the statement in the Constitution that marriage is an inviolable social institution, Congress can still pass a law on divorce. And if we read the Constitution itself, then there is no provision whatsoever in the Constitution which prohibits Congress from enacting a divorce law.
Madam Speaker, I respect the advocacy and the interpretation of the honorable gentleman from Albay, but having read, this section 15 and, the Article 15, Section 2, where essentially the focus of the framers of the Constitution was to recognize the Filipino family as the foundation of the nation. They essentially made a policy declaration, and because inviolable is not a common daily word that's used, I am sure when they found that word, they meant not to be broken, not to be infringed. And wouldn't that also be a fair interpretation for other members of the House to make? That it says what it says in common lingo, that marriage cannot be broken. And this bill essentially would violate that. Would that be a fair interpretation also of other people who are literally just reading the Constitution?
Well, other people may just make that strict interpretation, but I would submit that the divorce bill or subsequently the divorce law does not violate marriage. Because what is before the family court in a divorce proceeding is a destroyed, violated, and shattered marriage already. As I've already said, what is before the family court is a cadaver of a marriage. But it is not the divorce law which destroyed the marriage, that was destroyed prior to the divorce proceedings, because marriage is still a human institution. It is subject to human frailty and mortal misgivings.
Well, Madam Speaker, so I'll move on to my next point and segue to what the Honorable Lagman just said, that many of these families already shattered, broken, and therefore we wouldn't be violating the Constitution if we pass this bill. But my understanding is there are already existing procedures. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not a family law practitioner. But in the family code, we have legal separation and annulment, which is already existing remedies for families that are couples that are having problems. Is that correct?
That's correct, but they are not sufficient to answer problems plaguing couples, particularly wives.
If it's not sufficient, why not just amend the relevant articles of the family code and strengthen the legal separation and annulment provisions there?
We are not in any way amending or even repealing these provisions on legal separation, annulment of marriage, and dissolution of marriage. They are not incompatible with the divorce law. We are giving a fourth option two spouses. But we never intended to repeal these provisions under the Family Code. As a matter of fact, the grounds under the Family Code on dissolution of marriage, legal separation, and annulment of marriage are still grounds provided for in the divorce law. But they have been amended to include grounds subsequent to the solemnization of the marriage, because these are causes which are more numerous as grounds for divorce, because these are actually the causes suffered by spouses, particularly wives, during the period of cohabitation, which are not covered by annulment of marriage and the dissolution of marriage, which incidentally, the dissolution of marriage is akin to a canonical divorce under the Roman Catholic Church.
Madam Speaker, to clarify, if a couple, let's say, gets married in church, whether it's Catholic, Christian church, Protestant, or whatever religion, under current laws, to get a dissolution or a legal separation or annulment, could the sponsor explain what the different procedures are in terms of being able to avail of one of the three remedies that's existing now?
Well, the procedure is provided for under the Family Code and the rules of court. And the same procedure would apply to divorce proceedings. But we will have to underscore that in dissolution of marriage under Article 36 of the Family Code, the defect should be contemporaneous with the celebration of the marriage, although manifested later. With respect to the annulment of marriage, all of the causes should be at the time of the solemnization of the marriage, not subsequent. And with respect to the legal separation, the separation is from bed and board, and the marriage ties are not severed, so much so that the separated couples cannot remarry. And what happens now is the proliferation of concubinage and adulterous relationship, which are actually punishable by law, but condoned because the couples are not capacitated to remarry. These are the defects and deficiencies of the existing provisions in the Family Code, which this bill would rectify, more particularly with respect to the length and expense of the proceedings in all of these provisions in the Family Code. Because under the Absolute Divorce Bill, it is mandated that it should be expeditious and affordable. As a matter of fact, the judge is required to decide the petition for divorce within 1 year after the lapse of the cooling off period. And then also, there are court-assisted petitioners who qualify, and it is cost-free for them.
Madam Speaker, in a dissolution under Article 36 or annulment under Article 45, under the rules of court, are there any documentary requirements from the church where they wedded to be able to complete the legal procedures in court for either of those two relief that someone can get?
Well, of course, they will have to uh, produce evidence that they are married. Otherwise, there is no cause for dissolution of marriage or annulment of marriage. And the best evidence would be the certificate of marriage.
Are there any other documentary requirements that's needed other than, let's say, that marriage certificate from the relevant church under the current rules of procedure?
Well, I don't think there would be other principal documents in addition to the marriage certificate. But of course, if the ground is for violence or abuse, then most probably a police report can be an admissible evidence. If the ground example is fraud under annulment of marriage prior to the marriage celebration, then most probably fraud can be documented and it can be another document. With respect to psychological incapacity, usually the statement of an expert is necessary, but under a new ruling of the Supreme Court, it is not indispensable. But all of this would be a matter of evidence which the petitioner can produce in the family court.
And because the intent of this bill is to establish a fourth mode to get relief from the courts, I'm assuming the rules of court will be similar. Is that correct?
The rules of evidence will not be affected by this bill when it becomes a law. What will be done is that the petition should follow the family code procedure and the rules of court. We did not have to amend the rules of procedure to accommodate the divorce bill. The divorce proceeding would follow the procedures prescribed by the family code and the rules of court.
So, Madam Speaker, if this bill becomes law and the intent was to make it a faster solution for separated couples, if the rules of procedures and rules of evidence say the same, then wouldn't there be similar complaints that these proceedings take too long, it's too expensive? So how is that dealt with in this bill?
Well, as of now, the proceedings for nullification of marriage, legal separation, and annulment of marriage would take so much time. So much so that there are even circumstances when the petitioner or the respondent will already be dead and the case is still pending. How is that resolved or rectified? The provision in the bill says that the action or petition for divorce should be resolved or decided by the family court within 1 year after the expiration of the 60-day cooling off period. That is really expeditious. Then with respect to expense and affordability, the declaration of guidelines in the bill provides that the proceedings should be expeditious and affordable. Expeditious because there is a time frame for which, under which the judge should make the decision. And affordable because there are provisions which would qualify petitioners to be assisted by the court. They will not pay the filing fees, they're not going to pay judicial costs, and they will be given an attorney, a de officio lawyer, and they will be given expert services by the court free of charge.
So, Madam Speaker, if this bill is an optional fourth remedy, those provisions that the sponsor cited that they think will fast-track resolution of this fourth mode, which is the petition for an absolute divorce, why not also include the other existing three modes, Article 36, 45, and 55, and also include that as an amendment if we really want to help shattered and broken families that need relief from the courts? Why didn't the sponsor include reference to the other articles of the Family Code to help those families?
Well, that will destroy the option. The option is for the aggrieved party to make a decision on what course of action he or she would take. So if she wants it to be expeditious and affordable, then file the divorce petition, which already includes the causes under dissolution of marriage, legal separation, and annulment of marriage as amended. But if the petitioner would like, if the aggrieved party would like to pursue the process under legal separation or annulment of marriage or dissolution of marriage, then so be it. The option is there. Let the party decide.
Yes, I understand that, but to me it's counterintuitive, and in fact, probably may not be good policy if we're going to include language for a fourth option, but not for the other existing three. If our intention is to help, and as the sponsor said, mostly women who are abused, neglected, relationships already broken, why not include the same fast-track provisions for resolution for the existing three, to equalize the options and to allow possible women who want to avail of relief and give them the choices for the four different modes with equal relief and equal speed under the law. It doesn't make sense to me just to favor one.
It makes sense because we are giving an option. If you don't want to take the option, so be it. If you want to file an annulment proceeding, which is lengthy and expeditious, then do so. If you want to file legal separation, and because you are a devout Catholic, and you don't want to get the right to remarry, then do so. The options are there. The aggrieved party should make the decision. We are not going to make the decision for them.
So, Madam Speaker, that would literally mean that if this bill passes, and because there are time periods, I think 1 year, as mentioned earlier, for the court after the 60-day cooling off period to resolve the petition, then it will encourage more petitioners in bias for the fourth option, which is the absolute divorce. So if you're a practicing Catholic and you'd rather, let's say, do legal separation because of your religious beliefs, you will tend to go for the fourth option because it'll be faster. And I think that's bad policy. Where we would be legislating and helping couples, people, to use one particular relief in favor of the other remedies, and it's embedded in the law. And I find something wrong with that. But having said that,
Let me just say that the grounds for legal separation, annulment of marriage, and dissolution of marriage are among the grounds for a petition for divorce. So, to my mind, that wide option should be an encouragement for those who are really aggrieved to take the option which is expeditious and affordable. That is a good policy. But the option remains. Give the people, give the aggrieved parties that option. Take it or leave it.
Madam Speaker, I'm of the different view. There should be equal timetables and equal deadlines set. Should this bill pass to give couples more options. But anyways, having said that, I'd like to ask the sponsor. They get the absolute divorce granted by the court. I know in the bill it stipulates alimony and child support. So my question is, under this bill, does it address the situation where a couple gets divorced, the court orders child support and alimony, and I think the bill says up to maximum of 3 years for the aggrieved party. If, let's say in this case where the aggrieved party is the woman, and I admit that that is the case historically, if the man remarries, let's say 6 months later, and then has children with the second spouse, how will that affect the child support order for the first family? Is that addressed in this bill?
Well, the child support subsists whether the party or spouse obliged to give support remarries or not. But we should always understand that support depends on the needs of the persons to be supported and the capacity of the person giving support. So, if a man remarries and have children in the second marriage, then most probably his capacity may not be able to sustain his children in the first marriage and his children in the second marriage. Though now it is now for the court to appreciate whether that capacity would subsist or that capacity has diminished so much so that the support can be decreased. But that will depend on the appreciation of the evidence by the court.
And Madam Speaker, I think that's one of the problems that's essentially pointed out by the other interpreters, that we would be directly encouraging remarriages because if the absolute divorce is granted, and that affects the existing children of previous marriages. And I'm somewhat disappointed that there's no language or provision that deals with that situation because mothers and fathers are important for us, family is important for us, but the utmost priority should be the children, and there should be some provision that addresses how to adjust child support when someone remarries later on. Now, for sake of time, let me
Let me
ask
just say,
the sponsor.
Madam Speaker, that if the distinguished gentleman would have some proposed amendments to cover that situation, then we will be willing to hear the amendments and consider the same.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that offer. But I'm essentially still not persuaded on the bill, and I'm just only highlighting what I think the gaps that I've seen, and I hope maybe the committee or other members will come up with that, and I would feel somewhat uncomfortable offering any amendments to address that, but I'd like to point it out to the sponsors. We searched, according to a law firm in the U.S., the name of the law firm, it's public information, Wilkinson and Finbeiner, that in the U.S., the statistics were, according to this law firm that did the survey, was quite shocking. Almost 50% of all marriages in the United States end up in divorce or separation. And as we know, I think in all the states, they have divorce laws. 60% of second marriages end in divorce, and 73% of third marriages also end in divorce, meaning in the U.S., the pattern is people who divorce, it makes it easier for them to have divorce should they remarry again. And I think the whole point of that statistics is that may happen here where you have a situation where it'll be easier to divorce, they'll remarry and then get divorced, and if the statistics in the U.S. will hold true for us, then we'll be seeing more and more divorces. Isn't that in itself essentially bad policy? If we created laws that just encourages more separation and more divorces.
Mr. Speaker, first, the U.S. is an outlier because their data are really extreme. So much so that in the statistics being used on divorce worldwide, the United States is not included. Number two, the rise in divorce in the United States was due to the no contest divorce, which President Reagan regretted having signed. But we are not following that in the Philippines. We do not use these quickie divorces as ground for divorce under the bill. Under the bill, no contest divorce, no quickie divorce, no Las Vegas divorce, no notarial divorce, no email divorce. So, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, we do not allow this in the bill because that would really cause the floodgates to open. But with respect to other countries other than the United States, the floodgates for divorce and separation were not open because of legitimizing divorce. The data across the world, except the United States, would say that about only 1% out of 1,000 marriages would result in divorce worldwide, Madam Speaker. So we have not opened the floodgates for divorce. Even in countries where divorce is very lenient, like in Colombia, where notarial divorce is permitted, the divorce rate is among the lowest in Latin America. So we should not fear that divorce law in the Philippines, which is much more strict than the other countries, would result to more divorces, because the evidence show that it is otherwise.
Madam Speaker, the sponsor said earlier that he's a good Catholic, and essentially the bill will help shattered, broken families. It will deal with the most aggrieved, which are the women. But from my recollection, I think the Catholic Church and other church-based groups, especially Christian groups, are not in favor of the bill. As a practicing member of whatever religious organization that's not in favor of the bill, like a Catholic, how can we really reconcile that? Because that's one that I'm having a hard time with. I think the intention is good. I applaud the sponsor and the other authors on this. But I think it's the wrong approach and not consistent with what's the ideals of my own church. So how do we reconcile that for the members like myself who are conflicted?
No less than the Pope said that the clergy should be mindful of the rights to the Eucharist of divorced couples. No less than the Pope moderated the cost and time consumed for what is known as canonical divorces based on psychological incapacity of either or one of the spouses. All Catholic countries, all Christian countries, except the Philippines and the tiny state of Vatican, have legalized divorce. This is an indubitable manifestation that divorce does not offend the Catholic faith, that divorce is not against the Catholic dogma. And let me also say that although we respect the doctrines of the Church, we are a secular state, and marriage is still a secular institution. There are more civil marriages in the Philippines than Catholic marriages. And that is the statistics from the Philippine Statistics Authority.
Fair enough, Madam Speaker. Considering the time, I actually have a few more questions, but I'd like to wind up and thank the sponsor for his gracious answers. And I'd like to manifest, if there's a second round, I would like to be listed for the second round. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Honorable Lagman.
Thank you, Honorable Dasa. Majority Leader.
Thank you, the Honorable Dasa.
Madam Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration on House Bill number 9349.
There's a motion. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we take up additional reference of business and request that the Secretary General read the title of the bills.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the bills.
Additional reference of business. Messages from the Senate. Message dated March 13, 2024, informing the House of Representatives that on even date, the Senate approved the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill 1964 and House Bill 9682 on institutionalizing the grant of a teaching allowance for public school teachers.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message dated March 13, 2024, informing the House that the Senate on even date passed the following House bills without amendment. House Bill 1043, creating a district engineering office in the 1st Legislative District of Negros Occidental. House Bill 7539, creating a district engineering office in the 3rd Legislative District of Bataan. And House Bill 7645, creating a district engineering office in the 4th Legislative District of Bukidnon.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message dated March 14, 2024, which was received by the House on March 19, 2024, informing the House that on March 13, 2024, the Senate adopted House Concurrent Resolution 20 entitled Concurring with Proclamation Number 404 of the President of the Republic of the Philippines, dated November 22, 2023, entitled Granting Amnesty to Former Members of the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, National Democratic Front, who have committed crimes punishable under the revised penal code and special penal laws in furtherance of their political beliefs.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message dated March 18, 2024, informing the House that the Senate on even date passed the following House bills without amendment. House Bill 8701, establishing a senior high school in Progressive Village 3, Barangay Bayanan, City of Bacoor, Province of Cavite, to be known as the Progressive Senior High School. And House Bill 8702, establishing an elementary school in Progressive 15, Barangay Molino 2, City of Bacoor, Province of Cavite, to be known as the Progressive Elementary School.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message dated March 18, 2024, informing the House that on even date, the Senate approved the Conference Committee report of the Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 2449 and House Bill number 8327 on the proposed PNP Organizational Reforms Act.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message dated March 18, 2024, informing the House of Representatives that on even date, the Senate passed Senate Bill 2572 on establishing the Bulacan Special Economic Zone and Freeport in the province of Bulacan, creating for the purpose the Bulacan Special Economic Zone and Freeport Authority, in which it requests the concurrence of the House of Representatives.
To the Committee on Economic Affairs and the Committee on Trade and Industry.
Committee reports. Committee Report 1036, submitted by the Committees on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms and Appropriations on House Bill 10178. Committee Report numbers 1037 and 1038, submitted by the Committees on Higher and Technical Education, Appropriations, and Ways and Means on House Bill numbers 10181 and 10185, respectively. Committee Report 1039, submitted by the Committee on Senior Citizens on House Bill 10188.
The aforementioned committee reports are all referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, we are in receipt of the bicameral conference committee report on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill number 7819 and Senate Bill number 2492 on declaring the maritime zones under the jurisdiction of the Republic of the Philippines. Madam Speaker, in accordance with our rules, I move to ratify the said bicameral conference committee report.
There's a motion to ratify the said bicameral conference committee report. Those who are in favor say aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. The said bicameral conference committee report is hereby ratified. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, we are in receipt of the bicameral conference committee report on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill number 8327 and Senate Bill number 2449 on the restructuring of the Philippine National Police. Madam Speaker, in accordance with the rules, I move to ratify the said bicameral conference committee report.
There's a motion to ratify the said bicameral conference committee report. Those who are in favor say aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. The said bicameral conference committee report is hereby ratified. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, the House and the Senate have approved on third reading House Bill number 5001 and Senate Bill number 2441, respectively on mandating private higher education institutions to waive the college entrance examination fees. We have been informed that the Committee on Higher and Technical Education, sponsor of House Bill number 5001, as well as the authors thereof, is in concurrence with the provisions of Senate Bill number 2441. With this information, in accordance with the rules, I move to adopt Senate Bill number 2441 as an amendment to House Bill number 5001.
There's a motion to adopt Senate Bill number 2441 as an amendment to House Bill number 5001. Those are in favor, say aye. Those are against, say nay. The ayes have it. Senate Bill number 2441 is adopted as an amendment to House Bill number 5001. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, on part of the majority, I move to nominate and elect Representative Jose C. Alvarez as Senior Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Natural Resources.
There's a motion. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, may we acknowledge and welcome to the House of Representatives the guests of our Representative Edsa Lagman. Our guests are members of the Divorce Pilipinas Coalition. We have AJ Alfafara, Ms. Mila Malikdem, Ms. Evelyn Pulogon, Ms. Sarah Gion, Ms. Regina Deloso, Ms. Lida Bedia Muleta, Ms. Rinalyn Cortez, Mr. Bilamir Cortez, Ms. Cheryl Estoya, and Ms. Clarissa Avendaño.
To the guests of the Honorable Lagman from the 1st District of Albay, the following members of the Divorce Pilipinas Coalition, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we suspend session until tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, March 20, 2024.
Session suspended until tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Recording stopped.